President Trump escalated his attack on Maryland Representative Elijah Cummings on Twitter this weekend, saying if racist Elijah Cummings would focus more of his energy on helping the good people of his district and Baltimore itself, perhaps progress could be made in fixing the mess that he has helped to create over many years of incompetent leadership. He also called his district, Representative's district, a disgusting rat and rodent-infested mess. Joining us now is former Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe. The governor has written a new book titled Beyond Charlottesville, Taking a Stand Against White Nationalism. And you were on the phone with President Trump when the neo-Nazis marched in your state, and the president then said there are good people on both sides. How did you react?
Not well. I briefed the president. We had 1,000 neo-Nazis, white supremacists, screaming the most vile things you could say of African Americans and against members of the Jewish faith. Standing there in front of the synagogue, they're yelling, "We're going to burn you, and we're going to burn that synagogue like we did in Auschwitz." You just find it just incomprehensible that human beings could say this about a fellow human being. So I briefed the president, told him what a mess we had in our hands. They came in from 35 states around the country. They were haters. Had nothing to do with the Robert E. Lee Monument. This was because of Trump, felt empowered to come in and spew their hatred. And I told the president, and he said he was going to do his press conference first. I said, I'll wait. I felt when I hung up he was going to do the right thing and condemn neo-Nazis. You know, it's not a hard thing to do. And then half an hour went by, an hour went by, an hour and a half went by, 2 hours went by. And what happened was folks in the White House got a hold of him and said, no, you are not going to condemn neo-Nazis. And he came out and then horribly, horribly gave his speech and said there were fine people on both sides. There were not fine people in the neo-Nazi movement. They killed Heather Heyer that day, a 32-year-old. I lost 2 state troopers that day, but for those 3 would be alive today. They were not fine people.
So these people, obviously, who were in Charlottesville, as you said, very overt racism being expressed there. I want to bring it back to the Elijah Cummings story for a moment, because the president in his tweet said he didn't understand why any human would want to live in Baltimore. And his defenders would say, well, he's not racist, right? That he's criticizing specific practices of Congressman Cummings. But, so what would you say to that? Do you think the president is racist, and do you think he's enabling people like those who appeared in Charlottesville?
He's going after a black congressman. There are many areas in our country, other parts that very tough shape. He doesn't go after them. He went after Elijah Cummings. One, he's been tough on him on the Customs Border Patrol. He's asked questions about his daughter, Ivanka. He didn't like it. But, you know, this isn't the first instance. I mean, last month telling the squad to go home where they came from. Well, 3 of them were born here in America, you know, same as you were, Donald Trump. But remember the 7 Muslim countries. And listen, I was governor when that happened. I had U.S. citizens detained at Dulles International Airport. Detained. He has created this whole fear, division, hatred. These folks who came to Charlottesville, and they're quoted all through my book, they came because Donald Trump and the language that he has used in the campaign and since he's been president, they feel empowered. They used to wear hoods in this country, and they used to do it at night. Because of Donald Trump, they don't think they need to hide it. And they marched down. Literally, the folks at the synagogue had to hide the Torah, take it out the back door. Every other word was the F and N word. I've never in my life seen anything like it. I don't blame him for specific acts, but I do crave for the environment that he's created, that people think this is okay. It's not okay.
And speaking of this environment, so what's going on with the 2020 race? Do you think Trump's tweets could possibly backfire? Are we going to see the first female president? Does Kamala Harris have a real shot, or Cory Booker? I mean, how does this play out with the race?
I think politically it's a mistake for Trump. You know, I know what he's trying to do is he's got his base riled up. It's, you know, it's a good 40%. It's not going much higher than that. I think he believes that there are all of these folks out there who are white nationalists who somehow did not come out in 2016 and all of a sudden will come out of their hole and be so excited that they'll come out in 2020. He's lost independent women. They don't like this. I mean, we're a great nation, and the division that he's created in our nation, people are against this. So it's very hard for Trump to win again. I mean, there were 3 states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. We lost by a combined 77,000. 92 million didn't vote. They're going to vote this time. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So he's going to have a very tough time. But you raise an important point. The Democrats have got to come out and tell how they're going to heal the country and what we need to do going forward.
Well, are they doing that? Because we're going to have the debates tomorrow and Wednesday. Spoiler alert, we've got some data from SimilarWeb that crunched after the first debate up through last week. Where did people go on websites to look at which Democrats? Bernie Sanders was still actually the most traffic, according to SimilarWeb, and we'll talk more about that later. But are the Democrats delivering a message yet that is a unified message to counter President Trump? Because a lot of Democrats, you lost Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin because Democratic voters didn't come out. Detroit, there was over the weekend. They talked about Detroit, they stayed home.
Down 8%. No, not today, but I would say this, Adam, it is early. This is the first of many debates. I was the chairman of the National Party that started the debates. And when I did it back in 2003, the purpose was to give everybody a little time, camera time. And ultimately, this will, siphon down to a smaller group of candidates. So we're early. But what I was disappointed in the first debate, I don't want to hear about busing 40 years ago. I really don't. The people who tuned in, tell me what you're going to do about K-12, workforce development, job creation. I didn't hear infrastructure mentioned at all. I didn't hear cybersecurity. The issues that people are sitting home thinking about, they're not talking about what happened 40 years ago. So I hope this debate, Democrats lean in, tell what we're going to do, how we're going to go move forward. You watched that last debate, spent a lot of time about immigrants coming to this country. We're not going to charge them with a crime. Then we heard we're going to give them all health care. And then they heard with Medicare for all, you're sitting at home. I could lose my private insurer. I'm going to lose my private insurer. All these folks are getting health coverage. Everybody's going to come in. My point is, you got to start talking to Americans about issues that affect them every single day.
Okay, so I would argue the DNC has not been doing a very good job of that. And a lot of critics from within the party criticized the party for how things went down the last time around, particularly with the marginalization, I think a lot of people felt, of Bernie Sanders. Has the DNC learned lessons?
The DNC doesn't, you schedule the debates, but, you can't control MSNBC, who ran the last debate. You're not going to be able to control CNN.
Right, but it's not just about that. If you looked at the convention.
Oh, you're talking about 16?
Yes.
Yeah, there are a lot of stuff that came out in 16. I'm a former chair of the National Party. Your job as chair is to run a fair system. When I was chair, I had Al Sharpton running, I had Howard Dean running, I had a lot of candidates on. Your job is to keep it fair. You don't give preference to anybody. And if there was preference, that's wrong. Let the nomination process figure out who the nominee is going to be. When the gavel comes down at the convention, then the party gets behind it. But I sort of like all of this 25 out there. They're speaking to somebody. Marianne Williamson is speaking to someone today. But we'll slowly, money will drive you out of the process. And we've got a long 16, 17 months till the election. We got a lot of time to bring the party together.
All right. Well, the book out right now is Beyond Charlottesville, Taking a Stand Against White Nationalism. And we want to thank you, former governor of Virginia.
Thank you.
And author Terry McAuliffe.
Great to be with you. Thank you. Great to be with you.
Thank you, Governor.